So thank you for coming and attending this 1 hour webinar about grant writing and how we can help you get money. Michael Asmore is a professional in the space of grant funding, and if anybody knows where the money is, it's Michael. My name is Mark Langley. I'm the founder of the National Public Safety Drone Donation Program, and we are hosting this with Michael. Michael's been a supporting partner of ours, and we really appreciate his support. We also appreciate all of what the men and women of public safety do on the fire side, on the search and rescue side, on the police department side. And we want you to know how much we appreciate what you do. If you have a drone program that you need help with, please go to our website and sign up free of charge. There's no obligation. We'll work very hard to get you a drone. If you already have a drone program and you're looking to buy new hardware, why don't you contact us? We'll verify best pricing, and our partners will donate 5% of net proceeds back to us to help support public safety. Also, if you are looking to support us in any way, please feel free to make a donation on our website. If you have old drones that you're retiring because you're getting new technology, why not contact us and put those drones back into use? We have a drone adoption program. We have well over 250 departments waiting right now across the country that aren't as fortunate as those who are well funded. Speaking of being well funded, grant money is very important when it comes to keeping you guys safe, and there's a lot of money to be had out there, and I'm really excited to be able to introduce Michael Asmore. Michael is going to go over some information that I always find interesting. He's always bringing up new things every time we do this, and just so you know, we do this once every quarter. So please note your calendar. If you know somebody who couldn't make it, they can sign up next time, or we'll have a recording of this. Michael, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mark. Welcome, everybody. Very excited to be here. What I'm going to be doing is telling you a story and educating you on grant funding that's available in the marketplace. I'm going to share my screen, set up my slides here, and we can get going. So what we're going to be talking about is grant funding assistance. And when it comes to a story, let me explain a little bit about how I got to this point. So I started my company in 2007. And prior to that, I used to sell SWAT equipment. And I learned early on that we work in a market that's very unique. Most markets I worked in prior to coming into selling into public safety, I was used to a customer base that had money first and then would go buy. This market's the opposite. You have to figure out what you want and why you want it, and then figure out where's the money going to come from. So because we do things in a different order, it slows the cycle down of purchase. It makes it very difficult to buy. So it's very common that I see in this marketplace end users that have a need for solutions, specifically today drones or accessories for drones or software or training for drones. But due to funding issues, you can't afford to buy them. And so what I see is companies doing an excellent job of making solutions, educating you on the solutions, you seeing the value, and then from there, due to budgets, not able to make the purchase. The end result is I find end users don't know how or where to find money and have to continue to do their duties and responsibilities without the best equipment that saves time and money, reduces liability, saves lives. That's why I created a grant funding assistance strategy. It's, for end users, we've designed this system to offer you lists of grants that you can purchase with funding categories and deadlines and descriptions and website links and funding amounts. Anybody that attends these classes through Mark's organization and makes a purchase, we donate 25% of the revenue back to Mark's organization, which we feel is a wonderful organization to support and is doing amazing work throughout the public safety market. If you're a business, because we do have businesses that come to these classes too, we have the ability to custom build strategies around your solution, may it be equipment, software, or training. And then we get involved with those 5 points I mentioned earlier, getting approvals to pursue a grant, identifying specific grants, locating contact people to help increase the odds of getting the funding for the project, building out successful justification papers, as well as securing and protecting grant funding. I'll be happy to take all questions. I forgot to mention at the beginning at the end of the class. So feel free, if you have a question, leverage the chat box, or you can also raise your hand by using the reaction icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. But we'll have time at the end of this class for me to take some questions too. So going into strategic grant funding assistance, I always like to first define terms. So we all are understanding the types of terms I'm using and what the meaning is behind them. First off, a grant. A grant simply is this: a sum of money given by an organization, especially a government, for a particular purpose. Then you have grantors, and grantors are individuals that are in charge of distributing the sum of money for a particular purpose. You have grantees, which are the organization that receives the sum of money for a particular purpose. If you're an agency on this call, you're a grantee. And there's three types of grants we're going to focus on today: federal grants, private grants, which come from corporations, nonprofits, or foundations, and then state grants. Grants are a two-step process. You're either filling out an application, writing a grant narrative or grant justification paper, or you're writing a grant application with a narrative component woven into it, meaning that you have questions and short answers, describing things like what your problem is in your community, what your project's about, how you're going to implement it. So why are you here? I find most people that attend my classes are either end users or businesses. End users are usually in my class because 90 to 98% of their budgets go to payroll and gasoline. And that leaves 2 to 10% left over for equipment, software, or training. I find that the purchasing process is very long. On average, it takes 6 months to 2 years for an agency to purchase a project that's not on budget. And 6 months to 2 years is a long time, because the reality is this: if you're talking to a supplier of equipment, software, or training, you're not talking to them to solve a problem 2 years down the road. You're talking to them because you want to solve a problem today. Elected officials. More and more, I see elected officials involved in the purchasing process, from everything from approving a project to even be started, to approving applying for a grant, approving submitting the grant, approving accepting the award, approving accepting the funds, approving to decide to put a project out to bid, approving accepting the winning bid, approving cutting the PO. On average, I see government agencies voting 5 to 7 times. Doesn't matter if it's a city council or a county board or a state administration. They don't meet every month. They meet typically once a month. So I should say they don't meet every day. They meet once a month. And so that's 5 to 7 months it takes. If you're a business in this room, what I find when I talk to businesses, the sales process is long. It takes a long time to get sales done. Marketing people that I talk to, they are happy with the conversations, but they'd like to see more. So I invented a formula, and the formula is simply this: end users plus needs minus funding equal fewer conversations. And what I'm going to show you today is, when you are a business and you have a grant solution for your product, software, training, you will have more conversations because people will talk to you. People do not talk to you in this market if they don't know where they're going to get money. So when you are able to show them where there's money for what you offer, they will talk to you and be very interested to talk to you. The other reason why businesses typically come to my classes is material and supply chain issues. It's tough to determine what you need to build, what you need to stock on a shelf, if you're selling to a market that never knows when they're going to get money. So we're going to solve all those problems today, because I'm going to show you strategies that are going to help you be able to prepare and be successful in getting funding. So let's talk about the first step in the process, getting approvals to pursue a grant. More and more agencies have to do this. So I always like to start off with understanding and appreciating the world that we're working in or living in. And the first thing is that we have to get clear on who's going to approve a project. Sometimes approving a project is simply the agency leadership. May it be the chief, deputy chief, captain, lieutenant, battalion chief, sheriff, deputy sheriff, sheriff's deputy, commander. Get clear who's going to be involved in this project and understand who are the people that need to be sold. Then you have city council or county board or regional boards or state administrators, elected officials. Understand if these are the people that need to green light this drone program, get in front of them early on. Get in front of them before you even start talking to vendors and have them involved in the process. If you can, have them show up to the demo, invite them to the demo, make them a part of the solution. Also, you got to understand why approvals are needed. Public safety is paid by the taxpayers. Taxpayers pay public safety personnel salaries. Elected officials are elected by the taxpayers, so they feel that it's important that they're involved in all aspects of city government, and that includes purchasing solutions and putting programs in place. So the key is helping the end user, the agency, sell the solution and get approvals. First thing is you have to understand how. And the way you do it is that an end user has to show how a project is going to be realistically funded through a grant, maybe federal, private, or state. I was just on a phone call with a client of mine, and we were talking about really how does their product fit into federal grants? How does their product fit into state grants? How does their product fit into private grants? And we spent at least 20 minutes going through the steps that connect the grants to the product. The second thing is you have to show how a project's going to do one of the following. How's it going to save time and money? How's it going to reduce liability? How is it going to save lives? The better you can show that, the better chance you're going to get this project green-lighted. So the real question is, what specifically can you leverage? Well, there's two things. The AEL and the SEL is what I want to talk about today. Now, what is the AEL? It stands for Authorized Equipment List. It's found on FEMA's website. It is a list of approved equipment types that are allowed under FEMA's preparedness grant programs. There's actually 760 different products. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to see commercially available products listed. You're not going to see DJI. You're not going to see FLIR. You're not going to see drone sense. You're going to see descriptions of these types of products. So when it comes to drones or small unmanned aircraft systems, USAS, the FEMA related grant programs are the following. Amtrak. So if you're Amtrak, you can get drones through a grant specifically designed for Amtrak. If you're part of the bus service in the community, you can get a drone through the Inner City Bus Security Grant Program. Or if your law enforcement agency provides some form of security to the inner city buses. If you're a port or harbor, you can apply for a port security grant. So like Maryland, Baltimore specifically, or New York, New Jersey area, you can get money through your port authority through those ports of security grants. The State Homeland Security Grant Program, which makes up probably 98 to 99% of the room. Non-UASC cities, which UASC are the 25 most populated communities in the country, everybody else qualifies for state homeland security grants. So you can apply for that grant. If you're part of a tribe or on tribal land, tribal homeland security grant program would be the one you could apply for. If you're part of the transit, may it be a train system, you could apply for a transit security grant program. So if you're a law enforcement agency that supplies support to the transit, Houston has a program that is called BART, I believe, and they offer security for their transit. And then if you're in a major city, Chicago, LA, New York as an example, you can apply for UASI money, Urban Area Security Initiatives. These are all grants that are specifically for drones that you could apply for through the federal government. Now, if you are looking to upgrade your drone system, I won't repeat most of them because most of them overlap. The one that doesn't, you can get Operation Stone Garden money, which basically is the border states of Canada and the border states of Mexico and the states that border bodies of water like the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. You can get Operation Stone Garden money as well as the other grants that I mentioned earlier. Now there's another program that offers justification called the SEL, the Standardized Equipment List. That SEL provides mission-specific sublists designed to support critical mission areas. The sublists are compiled by subject matter experts, and they draw appropriate items from all 21 sections of the SEL. The AEL and the SEL use the same structure. So it's the same line items and the same categories and subcategories. The sublist thus provides what they call a tailored SEL for responders in a specific mission area, such as mortuary operations as an example. Now, so where a small unmanned aircraft system fits in, mission-specific sublists are as followed. If you have a hazmat team, they recommend you have a drone. If you have a bomb squad, they recommend you have a drone. If you're a forensic tech, they recommend you have a drone. If you have a mobile field force, they recommend you have a drone. If you have a preventive radiological or nuclear detection program, they recommend you have a drone. If you have a SWAT team, they recommend you have a drone. And for medical, tactical emergency casualty care recommends you have a drone. So if you need to justify getting a drone program started and you have one or more of these teams, there's your leverage right there. For upgrades, the list is a little smaller. Bomb squads, preventive nuclear and radiological detection, and SWAT teams. But all this information strictly is there for leverage to get city council or county board or agency leadership to approve the project and then move forward. Step 2, identify what specific grants are available. So in addition to the federal grants I mentioned earlier, I want to touch on some grants that I see right now are very much hot and available. First is American Rescue Plan, or ARPA. Now, ARPA was started during COVID. And what they did is they set aside $350 billion with a B. Half of that money has to be spent by the end of this year, the remaining balance by the end of 2024. That money is very broad-based. You can spend it on almost anything. So it's a very competitive program. So what I'm recommending is this: start a dialogue with the following parts of your community. Your emergency management director, may it be a city director or a county director or both. Talk to also your city finance department and your county finance department. One or more of these organizations will have control of this money. Also start dialogue with your board members, your city council members, your county board members. Ask them if there is any American Rescue Plan money available. Explain what you're looking to do and ask what has to happen for us to have some of the American Rescue Plan Act money moved over to our project. The answer you're going to get right off the bat is it's been allocated. That's okay. That's not a bad answer. Allocated doesn't mean it's spent, and all allocated means is they have a certain amount of money set aside for certain projects, and they're not sure if those projects are going to cost that amount they've set aside. So there's going to be what I call gap money, GAP. That's the money that's in between these projects. Now, keep in mind, there's $350 billion nationally. So communities that, let's say, have 100,000 people or more, they're getting like $20 to $30 million. That's a lot of money. Do we really think to the penny that money's been earmarked and allocated? There will always be gap money. So the example I want to give you is I recently worked with an agency and they were looking to get a fire truck. And the community allocated $1 million for the truck. The truck cost $916,000. $84,000 was left over. We were able to direct them to use that $84,000 on other projects. There will be gap money left over. The key is be persistent. Start the dialogue now. Remember, at the end of this year, they're going to have to spend half that money. So we're talking there's less than 70 days left, less than 10 weeks before all this money has to be spent. So stay on top of them. You might get money for your project like that. AFG, this is going to come out in January of 2023. They just announced this week. So the Assistance of Firefighters grant will open up again at the beginning of the year. Start getting your ducks in a row now. What do you need? How much is it going to cost? And start working on your justification. The coming slides will teach you how to do that. But there's going to be probably somewhere between $400 and $450 million available through AFG. Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant. If you work in a community of 10,000 people or less and have a volunteer fire department, that grant will fund projects for you. They will fund projects for drones or accessories. This is usually through your state rural and agriculture sections. Start researching now, learn more about it, and get your ducks in a row. It's a federal grant, but it's going to funnel down through the states. So from there, I want to now talk about private grants. There's 5 types of private grants I want you to think about. Private grants come from nonprofits, corporations, and foundations. Private grants are all about solving problems in communities' backyards. So they're about local problems, and these are local organizations that will support you. So we break private grants into 5 subcategories. So the first one is community foundations. These are foundations that are based on regions of communities to create a certain number of populations. So example, if you're in an urban area, let's say like a San Diego County has their own community foundation that funds projects for the city and the county and anything that makes up San Diego County. If you're in more of a rural area, they're going to take a cluster of counties, maybe it be 5, 10, 15. I've seen county clusters up to 20 or 30. What these organizations do is they raise money from the businesses and the individuals that live in these community areas, and they take the money and then they invest it and they grow the assets. There's approximately $50 billion with a B of community foundation money nationwide. The IRS requires that these community foundations have to spend 5% of their assets on donations every year. So that's $2.5 billion with a B that they will have to give away. They give away projects that enhance, improve, and develop the community. If you can show how your drone program is going to improve, develop, or enhance the community, you are a fit for some of that money. Manufacturing. If you have manufacturing in your community, or if a manufacturer sells product in your community, they will fund projects for your organization. So example, Purdue Chicken, Chevron, Cooper Tire, all these organizations have grants that they will give money back to public safety to enhance, improve, and develop their communities they're in, or for disaster, preparedness, response, recovery, or relief. These are great funding sources for projects like a drone program. Again, the key is showing how you're going to help if there's a disaster, or showing how the community is going to be better off by you having this system. Public charities. Probably one of the best well-known ones is the Gary Sinise Foundation. Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. He will fund projects for public safety. I've seen him fund 5- and 6-figure projects in the past year or two. Definitely a great source to go to, but there are thousands of public charities all over the country. Public safety foundations. If you have a public safety foundation in place, great, partner with them. They can go out and raise money for you and take that money and buy you assets and give you the assets. They can also out raise money and give you a check. If you don't have one, learn how to set up a 501c3 public safety foundation for your agency. It is a great way for these local folks that want to support you to support you in a way that will best help you, because they're not giving the money to you directly, they're giving it to your foundation. Services. Best well-known ones are power companies, electric company, gas company. They will fund projects that improve public safety's capabilities. You got to think, when it comes to manufacturers, when it comes to services, these are organizations that are looking for write-offs to offset their revenue. They're also looking to help support the workers that work at their organizations and the people that live in their areas or use their solutions. They're all going to want to fund projects that are sound, compelling, and viable. So the first step to do that, well, let's go to states and then we'll talk about it. The third area is state grants. So state grants are a little bit different than federal and a lot different than private. The key to state grants is to know this. State grants come and go. One year they might have a grant, the next year they might have a different grant. So you have to get clear on, okay, where do you look to see what are they currently offering or what's upcoming? So the best places to look on state websites for state grants for your public safety agency would be places like administration or commerce or disaster assistance or emergency management or emergency services, health, highway safety, homeland security, Department of Natural Resources, public health or public safety. All these areas of state government have grant programs. Each state has different areas where these grant programs come from. Get familiar where the state has the programs that best fit you and start tracking them. And what I would do is I would check them every month. And then when something opens up, take advantage of it. So how do you take advantage of these? Step 3 is locating the point of contact who can help with the grant. So what I want you to think about is this. If you have ever watched or played baseball, there's a rule book to baseball. If you've ever read the rule book, the definition of a strike is a ball thrown over the plate higher than the knee and lower than the shoulder. By playing baseball and watching baseball, you've probably seen something different. You've seen that strike zone vary from umpire to umpire and pitcher to pitcher. Points of contact that oversee grants are very much like the strike zone in a baseball game. They interpret the grant from their point of view, and the best way to be successful with any grant is to have a conversation with that point of contact. So let's talk a little bit about that point of contact and what to do to build rapport. First of all, realize every grant has a point of contact. Their job is to answer questions about the grant process, review and approve the application or the justification paper, or cut the check. The reason the grant point of contact is important, it's their responsibility to spend this money, but they want to spend the money on viable, sound projects. They understand the grant that they're in charge of, and they understand the grantor who they work for. Their job is to help you, the grantee, with any and all questions. So understand that they're there to make sure that you're successful. They just want to make sure they understand what you're looking to do and why you're looking to do it. The best way to do this, have a conversation early with them, build rapport, help them have commonality with you and learn to have commonality with them, because the better they like you and respect what you're looking to do, the odds go up they're going to fund it. So have a conversation with them. Ask them, what do they need to know? What's most important to them when you apply for this grant? And then take good notes and apply what they tell you. And the way you apply it is you build a successful grant justification paper. So what's a grant justification paper or a grant narrative? It's an affirmative case addressing a current problem and showing how the project will solve the problem. There's the following components in every grant justification paper: a problem, so you have to identify it, quantify the problem, show how big it is, realistically how big it is, then show how your project's going to save time and money, reduce liability, and save lives. Then show how the project is going to get implemented over 12 months, from the day the grant's awarded to the day you cut the PO, to the day you receive the assets, to the day you get trained, to the day you start the program and notify the media, et cetera, et cetera. And then the cost has to be based on a realistic quote, cannot be ballparked. Every grant has those 5 components. The only thing that might change is the order or sequence. The better you understand what you need to tell that grantor, the better your justification is going to be. That's why you have that conversation with them. They might want to know specific problems you're having. They might want to know call outs in terms of quantifying the problem. How many times are you going out in the field to solve this problem? What are you doing out in the field? What type of an area do you serve? Is it flat? Is it hilly? Is it mountains? Is it, well, how big is the population? How big is the population during the daytime? Things like that they're going to want to know. You're going to learn that specifically by having a conversation with that grantor. 5, secure and protect the grant funding. So why is it important? Why is it important to protect this money? Because I've been in this industry for over 20 years, and I have seen countless times agencies lose money. And the reality is it's not lost, it's just moved. It's moved from project A to project B. So realize that, number one, anytime you get funding, there's a risk you're going to lose it. Why is there a risk? Because there's multiple parts of an agency that have needs, and they need money too. The end users that are in charge of those programs, they're going to be hunting for money, just like you should be hunting for money. And if the money is not spent on your project and it's moved to another project, that's what we call in this marketplace, the funding's lost, but it's not lost. They just said, you know what, project B needs this money more than project A. So we're going to take the money from you and move it here. So the outcome now is this: how can we reduce this from happening? And the following strategy will help reduce the chances. It's not a silver bullet. I'm not telling you it's going to work every time, but the more you apply it and the better you get at it, the better chance it will work. So understand this. You need to build an agency team that's going to support this project. So what does that mean? So with a drone program, maybe your SWAT team needs it. Maybe your traffic team needs it. Maybe your investigation team needs it. Bring them all in. All 3 of your divisions should be in that demo. On the fire side, hazmat might need it. Search and rescue might need it. Wildland firefighting might need it. Who knows? Bring them in on the call as well. Get people that are from different parts of your agency together, so that way you all can work as a team. The more reasons that drone could be pulled out of the box, the greater chance it's going to get funded. Leadership. Get your chiefs and your commanders and your lieutenants and your captains and your battalion chiefs and your chief deputies and your sheriffs and your chiefs. Get them all involved. If they want to be involved, invite them. They'll come if they want to be involved. If they're not going to be involved, they won't come. And that's fine. But at least invite them. Get them involved if they're going to decide your fate. Elected officials. Just read an article this week about an elected official that went out and liked the project so much, they actually went out and got the money for it. Over $300,000. They went and got money for a project. And I was amazed because that was the first I heard of them actually going out and soliciting money. What I've always taught that's worked well is if you know that the alderman or city council member or county board member is going to vote on pursuing a grant, invite them to the demo. Bring them in early. Let them see what you're looking to do and why you're looking to do it. Then, if you have to present to the whole city council or county board, you got fans in the audience. It's like playing a home game. They already seen the product, they already like it. They've probably talked it up to other city council members. So get those elected officials involved. Local businesses. Local businesses want to support the community. They're looking for write-offs. They might be willing to write you a check. They might be willing to talk to City Hall for you, but get them involved. Tell them what you're looking to do, why you're looking to do it, and they will support you in the way they best can. I've had agencies get all the money for a project from donations from the city and from the city businesses, to be specific. Community leaders, pastors, priests, Chamber of Commerce, those organizations will help support your project too. They'll talk it up to city council. And of course, citizens. We all live in communities. We all live on blocks with houses or apartments or townhomes or condos. Talk to the neighbors. Get them to support the project and they'll talk to City Hall on your behalf too. Leverage everybody around you. Play chess. Think of it this way. If I have one chess piece on the board, you have one chess piece on the board. We both have about a 50-50 chance of winning depending on the piece. What if I have two and you have one? My odds gone up. If I have three and you have one, my odds gone up. If I have four and you have one, my odds go up even more. Get as many pieces on the table. How do you do it? Show them how the project's going to save time and money, reduce liability, and save lives. Leverage that justification information from the AEL and the SEL. So when it comes to grant assistance, what can and cannot be done to help? What can you do? So what can be done is the following. If you are a third-party organization, let's say a business on this call, you can build out templates and outlines and supply that as a guide and inspiration for your customer to write their justification paper. If you're a business or a consultant, you can review the grant justification paper, you can review the application, and you can redline it like a legal document and give advice and recommendations on how to make it stronger. You can do all of those things as a third-party business or consultant. What you can't do is you can't write the paper for the end user. The end user can write their own paper, or they can hire a grant writer with their own money, but you cannot write it for them. You cannot fill out their application. End users, you could hire a grant writer with your own money to write it, fill out an application, write a paper, but you cannot have a supplier do it for you. The federal government over the years has cracked down on third-party grant writers that are not hired by the agency, and it has gotten agencies in trouble and it's gotten businesses in trouble. So if you're an agency on this call, you can write it yourself or you can hire somebody to write it for you, but you have to pay them. The company that's supplying the solution cannot. So what I'd like to do now is open it up for questions. But before I do, if you have a question after this meeting, the best way to get a hold of me is you have my office line, which is 630-945-3605. You have my direct line, which is 630-877-3130. My email is mazamore@dynamicinternational.net. We'd love for you to follow us on social media, either on LinkedIn or Facebook. But what I'd like to do now is open it up to questions and answer any questions you might have about the process, about grants in general, about maybe a specific product you're working on, and what could be available out there. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to put my cheaters on and take a read here. I know the first question I got was about slides. I do not give out my slides. What I am happy to do, though, is work with Mark and get you a copy of this recording. So what I'll be doing is at the end of our meeting today, I'm going to get this copy over to Mark, and then Mark will have it and he can distribute it accordingly. All you have to do is reach out to Mark and he'll probably put up all his contact information in the chat so you know a way to get a hold of him. Boom, right there, right on target. If you have a question, you're more than welcome to raise your hand, unmute yourself, use the chat box. We have a good sized room of about 50 people. Love to answer any questions you might have.
Nice job, Michael.
Thanks. If you don't have any questions, nope, here we go. We got, is there a grant that is more tailor-made for emergency management other than the AFG? Yes, there is an emergency management grant program that you could apply for. I don't see FEMA connecting drones or drone accessories to it. But if you're an emergency management agency, what I recommend is looking at your regional community foundation. Craig, what county are you in and what state are you in? Feel free to either unmute or put the county and the state you're in the chat. All right, perfect. Kearney County, Nebraska. So I'm going to type into my Google machine here. All right, typed in Kearney County, Nebraska Community Foundation. So you have a community foundation called Kearney County Community Foundation. So if you go to, actually, we're going to do that. We got a few minutes. We're going to do this a fun way. Who's up for fun? All right, let me stop.
I am.
All right, let me stop sharing or turn my presentation off so I can access my Google machine here. Share screen right there. Share. Go back to the Zoom room, the chat box. I'm going to grab Kearney County, Nebraska. We're going to do it on here. If I'm you, I go here. This will be the first place I go. And I'm going to put this in the chat. You can just copy it out of there. This organization will fund projects for anybody that works in Kearney County that is a government organization. I don't know if they list how much money they have, but they probably have at least tens of millions of dollars, and they have to give away 5% per the IRS. I would start a dialogue with them. You go to their board. Doesn't list it, but you can always go to
Contact.
Contact. You can always email them. Close this out.
So it's that easy, really. You just look up this foundation for your community, and they'll come up on Google for the most part.
And start a dialogue with them. You got some of the board members' names here. The board will probably kick you over to their funding side of the house. But they're here to fund projects in your community. So that would be where I would go if I was you.
Excellent.
Thank you for all the info. I found that working for a relatively small agency, it's hard to get grants. Brian, here's what I've learned about small agencies. It's hard to get federal money, no disagreements. Private money, it's very easy because the federal organizations don't always pay attention to you. In everybody's backyard, there's 5 funding sources at any moment you could tap into. One is that community foundation. I just gave you an example of how easy it is to find it. All you got to Google is your county, your state, community foundation, and it'll come right up. Second, power companies, the electric company and the gas company. They will fund projects for public safety. Then local banks will grant money, not loan, but grant money if they have a branch in your backyard. So if you serve an area where, let's say, a Chase Bank is, or a Bank of America, as an example, they will fund projects for your community. Lastly, insurance companies. If there's a branch like a State Farm or a Farmers or an American Family, they will fund projects in your backyard. 5 places every time. When you get out of bed, those 5 places are places you need to build relationships with that will fund projects over a long period of time. And the reality is grants have become thought of as federal. The reality is grants are about solving problems in backyards. And these organizations, if they're in your backyard, are going to solve the problem in your backyard, and they will fund you money. They will fund you. I've seen tens of thousands of dollars. That's where I would go. And I'll actually put that in the chat. I would go to Community Foundation. Then I would go to Power Companies. Electric and gas. I can type. There we go. Then I would go to banks and insurance companies.
Yeah, Michael's a wealth of information there. He's just like...
That's where I would go. No, my pleasure, Brian. So then I got asked the private questions. What about counter drone systems for state DOC agencies to reduce contraband or overdoses? Again, I'd start with the community foundations. A lot of state DOC agencies are in very rural areas. There are regional community foundations. Whoever sent me that, if you want to send me a private message to me with the city and county that you're located in. Whoops, I'm trying to recopy this. I sent this to one person and I meant to send it to everybody. North Carolina. Okay, what's county in North Carolina? Guilford. All right, I'm gonna take a look here real quick here. I'm just gonna copy one more. See, this is the perks of optimizing this class, Mark. Now I can actually take a few minutes and do stuff like.
Oh, this is great. I mean, we got enough time to do this. This is awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna go. All right, we're gonna go back here, bring this down so I can access it better. Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro. I would start a dialogue with them. The reality is this: if there's a state prison in their backyard, they're going to make sure you guys have everything you need. So let's go back here. They have different funds. And I want you to think about the foundations like this. They're going to have, some of them are going to have funds already set up. And that might be the way to go. But if they believe in your project enough, they'll start a fund. These organizations have vertical after vertical after vertical of funds. Some of them have 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen funds. And they have an application page sometimes set up. You know, so they have their community grant section. They have build stronger neighborhood sections. So they have a variety of areas you can go to. But here's the thing, if you don't see an area on their website, pick up the phone and talk to them. They'll start funds for you. They'll set aside money for you and send you specific paperwork to fill out. I want you to think of it as a relationship, and you want to build this relationship over and over. Yeah, Tanya, let me pull up the slides here. Here's what I recommend doing. I'm going to share my slides again. I'm going to go to the ones most commonly asked for in terms of seeing, and you guys just take a screenshot of them.
Plus, if you want the link, we're going to be uploading this to our YouTube channel once Michael sends it. So you can, at your leisure, go back and capture any of the information that Michael has shared.
So the slides that are most interesting, I find that people like, is they like this page here, the small unmanned aircraft systems. So they know what FEMA related grants are available. I'll keep this up for a couple more seconds and I'll go on to the next one. Then they like the one for the remotely piloted vehicle upgrades. Then they like the missions specific sublist for the USAS. They like the UPGD page. They like the page with additional federal grants. They like the private grant categories. And they like the state grant categories of where to look for grants. If there's another slide you're interested in, describe it or let me know, and I will go to it, and I'll take a few seconds, let you grab that screen as well. But those are typically the most popular ones of our slides. My pleasure, Tanya. My pleasure.
So, Michael, I know you got to do a hard stop. I wanted to thank everybody for attending this event. And I wanted to let everybody know if they want to join our newsletter, just send us an email at the email that I put in the chat. And also in the chat, I put a link to a free press release that you can actually leverage to help promote what you're doing. I know public safety may or may not do press releases. You may have a media group that does that. And then I wanted to bring attention to an organization that we partnered with, another nonprofit called Sharing the Credit. You know, every time we walk into a store and we scan a credit card, there's a merchant fee that's charged by the bank or the merchant that runs that program. Our partners with Sharing the Credit will reduce those merchant fees and show the merchant how to save money on merchant fees, and they redirect a small portion of that merchant fee to any nonprofit of your choice, and we would hope it would be National Public Safety Drone Donation Program. So not only does the merchant save money when the customers scan a card, they don't pay as much of a fee, more goes in their pocket. Without writing a check, they're supporting public safety and our program to help support underfunded public safety agencies and STEM programs across the country. So if you know any businesses, both links are in the chat. I encourage you to check them out and sign up for a newsletter. Stay tuned to what we're doing, the donations we've got coming up. We've got 4 or 5 coming up in Colorado, thanks to a university that's donated some drones to us, and we'll be having more information on that. So if you need a drone and you don't have the funding, sign up at our website. There's no obligation, no fee, no nothing. We want to help you get some eyes in the sky to help keep everybody safe. So we all go home at night with our families and go to work the next day. Thank you, Michael, for all you're doing.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you, Mark, for allowing me to have this. We've been doing this now over a year with you, so it's exciting. Thanks, Neil. I appreciate it. If anybody else has any questions, feel free. If you don't, thank you for being here. I hope you found it to be very valuable. If you like what you heard, write a review or a recommendation that Mark and I can both use, because we want to keep doing this to give back to you folks, because this is the way we can help and support you for all the things you do for us.
Yes, thank you very much for all that you do, from 911 all the way down to the people in the field risking their lives. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Jerry. Well, I could stay on for at least another minute or two, and then I'll prepare for my next meeting. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate you coming. All right, Grand County, Colorado. Let's take a look, Jed. I love a challenge. All right. All right, you got the Grand Foundation. All these organizations partner with this foundation so they can give money directly to them. They have annual grants, designated funds, donor advised. They gave away $3.7 million in your community last year.
We actually, thank you for addressing this. we actually help contribute and raise some of those funds the other way. We're a fire district that lent help and support during the East Troublesome Fire, to a pretty devastating fire in Grand Lake. And while I think the Grand Foundation is a good start, I don't think them giving it to a special district is a direction they're going to go. I deal with, quite a few of the people on this board. So I was looking, you earlier, we're going along the line of insurance companies and some stuff like that, that may be a little wider on the regional aspect of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's also your local power companies. So whoever's supplying your electric and your gas, that would be a way to go. Do you have railroads that go through your community?
We sure do.
All right.
There you go.
Companies that drive those railroad cars will also fund projects like this.
Awesome. That's a huge hit, because that runs all the way through our county.
Yep. That is another way to go.
And I just don't want them to say like, oh, poor fire district, which we're a well-funded district considering what we have, is pulling money from someone that's putting food in people's mouths. So
I agree. Here's my thought process. I cannot control if someone's going to give me money or not. All I can control is presenting what's going on, and then it's up to them. And you might be absolutely right. But what they could do, and I've seen this done in other parts of the country, is they might just start a specific fund for you.
Yeah. Well, we actually started a rescue group for it. And, we kicked this thing off thinking aerial, and they end up buying a damn submarine, which we do have a use for. We'd had a lot of deaths in the lakes and rivers up here lately. So there was a purpose for it, but I kind of was like, let's get the drone program rolling. And I definitely did not mean the underwater one.
Have you applied to our foundation?
No, I actually just got forwarded this.
Yeah, please do that. We'll work fairly hard. If you have Walmarts and Sam Club, we just did a donation funded by Walmart and Sam's in Tuskegee, Alabama, and they got a really nice drone thanks to Walmart. So we can help you there. Let's, the more people out there working to get the information, the better, right? So that would be great.
And that's through the NPS-DDP?
Yes, sir. And you just follow all the information, write a book, tell us how it's going to benefit your community, how it's going to keep you guys safe, get you home. And then we use that story. And what's even better is if you can make a video, look into the camera, tell us why you're going to use a drone, how it's going to help. And we promote that on all of our social media. And we have some major companies starting to join us. So it's really to your advantage to apply today.
Sweet. I thought it was so important that I bought my own, and we have an enterprise, a thermal enterprise, just so that I could kind of say, look at where we can use this. And instead of being like, sweet, we should get one, it was kind of like, all right, we got yours. So now we're with 2023 coming up, we're trying to figure out, I'll have more success, like you guys mentioned earlier, if someone can help with those funds as opposed to shoulder the whole thing.
Yep. We also have partners that'll donate 107 classes and lighting kits, as well as accident reconstruction software. So we have quite a few partners. So
our local PD just got in on the accident reconstruction stuff.
Well, we can certainly help them there.
It seems like it takes them a long time right now.
Well, we can do it in 3 to 5 minutes. If there's no trees around, clear the scene in 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Heck yeah. Thank you guys very much. This was really good.
Thank you. Please share the news about what Michael's doing, about what we're doing. And if you know of other departments in need, I know Michael's got a hard stop here, so I really want to thank you for attending.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm going to have to shut it down. I got to hop on another one, but we will make sure this video gets out to you all. And if we can do anything else to help and support you, let us know. Yeah, email us and I'll get you the link to our YouTube once we post it. Thank you, Michael, for everything again, as usual. Thank you. All the best, everyone. Stay safe. All right. Bye.